Who built the Nazca lines and why? Do we really know the full story? In the middle of one of the driest deserts on Earth, giant drawings stretch across the sand. To name a few, there's a hummingbird the size of a plane and a monkey with a spiral tail. There's perfectly straight lines that run for miles into the horizon. And for centuries, nobody quite understood what they were. Some believed they were messages to the gods, others believed they were astronomical calendars. And then came the theories about aliens. But the real story about the Nazca lines is far stranger than fiction. Tonight on Lost in Time, we uncover the mysteries buried beneath the sands of Peru. In a desert so dry, some parts haven't seen rain for years. At first glance, the land looks lifeless, empty, and silent. But hidden beneath the red stone surface lies one of the greatest archaeological mysteries. Boasting more than 800 straight lines, hundreds of geometric shapes, over 70 massive animal structures carved directly into the ground. Some stretch over 30 miles long, whereas others can only be seen in their true form from the sky. And that's where the mystery begins, because these lines were created between the years of 200 BC and 600 BC, roughly 1500 years before an aeroplane existed. So the question remains, why create images nobody on the ground can fully see? Long before modern archaeologists arrived at the site, Spanish explorers had already noticed strange carvings in the ground. In 1553, Spanish chronicler Pedro Leon wrote about mysterious trail markers mapping the Peruvian plains. At the time, however, nobody realized that they were actually looking at giant artwork. From ground level, the Nazca lines are almost impossible to understand. You only really see the fragments, a straight path here, a ditch over there. The full images themselves remain hidden unless viewed from above. And for centuries, the desert kept it secret. Then came the year 1927. A Peruvian archaeologist named Toribio was hiking through the foothills of Nazca when he noticed something strange. Lines etched into the desert floor itself. First he believed they were ancient ceremonial pathways. He then went on to present his findings in Lima in the year of 1939, but the true scale of the mystery still wasn't fully understood, because nobody had yet seen the lines from the sky, and then aviation changed everything. In the 1930s, commercial pilots flying over the Peruvian plains began reporting bizarre shapes they'd seen below them. Birds, animals, massive geometric patterns. For the first time in history, humans could finally see the Nazca lines in their entirety. And at this moment, the world was in awe. How could an ancient civilization only create artwork that was visible from the air? Suddenly, the Nazca Desert became one of archaeology's greatest enigmas. In the year 1940, an American historian by the name of Paul Kosok arrived in Peru. Originally, he wasn't looking for lost geoglyphs, he was working on ancient irrigation systems. But one flight over the desert changed Paul's life forever. As Paul flew over the plains, he noticed one giant structure shaped as a bird. Then came the moment that transformed the mystery. On June 21st, 1941, it was the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere, and Paul watched something marvelous happen. Stood along one of the Nazca lines and watched the sun set directly in its path. To him, it couldn't be coincidence. From that moment, he believed the Nazca lines were connected to astronomy. A giant celestial calendar built into the desert. Paul would later call Nazca the largest astronomy book in the world. And beside him stood the woman who would eventually dedicate her entire life to protecting the mystery, Maria Rach. She was nicknamed the Lady of the Lines and was born in Germany in 1903. She came to Peru as a mathematician and translator. But after seeing the Nazca lines in 1941, her life, much like Paul's, changed forever. While many researchers came and went, Maria stayed. For decades, alone in the desert, she measured the lines by hand. She would map the figures and protect them from damage. Sometimes she would use only a broom to sweep the sand away from the ancient structures. Maria also believed at the time the Nazca people had built the lines as a massive astronomical calendar. She claimed some of the figures aligned with the stars, solstices, and celestial events. For over 40 years, she fought to protect the site from destruction. Without Maria there, many historians believe the Nazca lines may have not survived at all. So who were the Nazca people? To understand the lines, we need to understand the civilization that created them. The Nazca culture was said to have flourished along Peru's southern coast between the years of 200 BCE and 600 CE. Little rainfall, brutal heat, and dry desert plains. Water literally meant survival. Many historians and archaeologists now believe the Nazca lines may have something to do with ritualistic means for water. The reason behind this is that some of the lines they've discovered actually lead to underground aquifers. Others, however, appear connected to ceremonial platforms. In a land where drought could mean death, the Nazcas may have actually built these giant inscriptions into the ground as messages to the gods for rain. Maybe they were never intended for humans to view them from the sky, but for the gods above them. How were the Nazca lines actually made though? One of the biggest myths is that the Nazca lines must have required advanced technology. However, some archaeologists believe the method was reasonably simple. The desert surface is covered with dark oxidized stones. When those stones are removed, lighter soil appears underneath. So some scientists think all the Nazca people had to do was scrape away the top layer of stones to get to the soft material underneath, and that's how they would have created their lines. They also discovered wooden stakes at the end of some of the artworks. This could mean they were using ropes and surveying techniques to maintain those perfect proportions. No aircrafts, no satellites, just planning, mathematics, and incredible precision. Not to mention in the desert, where it's dry and almost windless, this would have helped protect the lines for over 2,000 years. However, each of the Nazca lines don't feel random, they almost feel symbolic. Some of the lines are a spider, a monkey, a condor, a whale, and even a hummingbird. Some stretch over 1,000 feet long. Many researchers believe these lines had spiritual meaning to the Nazca people. Birds on one hand may have represented the heavens, and water creatures symbolize fertility and rain. But no theory truly explains everything. And that uncertainty is exactly why the mystery refuses to die. Then, in the 1960s and 70s, the Nazca lines exploded into pop culture. Writers such as Erich von Däniken, however, claimed it was evidence of extraterrestrials. According to his theory, the lines were actually landing strips for spaceships. The idea spread rapidly across the world. And honestly, standing in the desert, surrounded by impossible shapes, it's easy to see why people believed it. But archaeologists strongly reject the alien theory. Real achievement wasn't aliens, it was human ingenuity. The mystery itself still isn't over. In recent years, drones and satellite imagery have uncovered something new. Previously unknown geoglyphs hidden across the desert. Some are tiny compared to the other famous figures. Others, however, depict strange humanoid beings and scenes never seen before. However, every discovery raises a question. How many lines have gone unnoticed? And could the full meaning of the Nazca lines be lost forever? And maybe that's why the Nazca lines fascinate us so deeply. Because despite modern technology, satellites, and decades of research, we still don't truly know why they were made. A civilization rose in the desert, created giant symbols visible from the heavens, and then vanished. And every year the wind still blows across these ancient lines. The desert itself is trying to whisper a message we still don't understand. And so, the Nazca lines to this day remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Not because we can't see them from the ground, but because we don't quite understand the people who made them. And maybe that's a real story, because history just doesn't disappear. Sometimes it waits for someone willing to look a little bit closer. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this video on the Nazca lines. Leave your thoughts down below on what you think they could have been used for in the past and how they built them. And as always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Cheers.